funny. All you gotta do is move time forward by 1 hour, then next thing you know, the day is passing much quicker than you expected it to. It is what it is, because I am recording this around the time of the beginning of daylight savings, where we move time forward to get a little bit of extra daylight, which means I'm probably gonna wanna take advantage of that while I'm out and about. But on a related note, welcome to another edition of the Wanyuki Cheese Cafe. So I'm coming to you from a different area of Montreal that I don't really highlight as much. I am around Langelier Blvd in what is most likely going to be Mercier West of the Mercier Hochelaga Maisonneuve borough, but my goal is to go around Bélanger Street just to show that off and retrace a few memories of myself when I was growing up and help me think back to my dad. Of course, all these names of the boroughs and the towns have changed over the years, decades, if not over the century, because technically this part of town was called Longue-Pointe originally before it became Mercier West. So to give you an idea, Mercier West is around here near Langelier, Assomption, and etc. Whereas Mercier East was Tetroville, and that's east over here, close to the Autoroute where the La Fontaine Tunnel is located. And to give you an idea with the metro location, Honoré Beaugrand Station, terminus of the Green Line on the east end. I came here over the years for various reasons. Like I said, for a friend, my mom's friend, my dad, but I thought I could do a little bit of a walk here to show it off and try to show something a little bit different. But before we continue the walk, here's my suggestion for you. Hit that subscribe button below and put your notification bell on. That way, if there's a new video to view, you're gonna get a pop-up on your phone. Also, give me a thumbs up, please. Now, if you're going to be looking at these surroundings, you might notice that it doesn't even look like the usual parts of Montreal that I hit up. And the reason for that is that this part of the town is considered more like an on-island suburb where there are a lot of standalone homes, along with some of the typical houses you find around the city. But it seems like it's a lot more residential compared to the other older parts of it, because my understanding is that this part of the city was developed a little bit later than central Montreal with all those spiraling staircases. And yeah, I know I don't really show this part off as often, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Compared to being around the center of the city, everything is like walking distance, and you could get from downtown up to the Jean-Paul Market pretty easily on foot. Whereas going around here, you probably would need to take some extra transit. Like, I had to get off at the Langelier subway station, and I'm walking a little further up right now, so it takes a bit more effort. Also got to drive a little bit further too. It does have a bit of a different character, not just with the suburban stuff, but I do notice that there aren't too many of those micro roasters, microbreweries, bars, restaurants that I show off a lot on my channel. In fact, it's going to be a bit more traditional around here, like typical bars that have your usual Labatt 50 and classic beers and so forth. But I think it was done by design, because my understanding about the Mercier district is they try to avoid a lot of the gentrification that happens through all the rest of the city here. If it's going to change, I don't know, I'll have to see one day, but it still gives me a chance to explore a little bit more. And I'm actually covering a little bit more ground than expected, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Okay, maybe I misspoke when I was saying I covered a lot more ground than I expected. I think what I was trying to say is that you're actually able to walk a shorter distance to get from certain streets compared to the center of the city, because I actually just got to Rosemount Boulevard, and I know that if I was going along Saint-Laurent, Saint-Denis, it would take me probably a good 40 minutes, maybe an hour to walk that, depending on my speed. But if you go to the east end, a lot of these streets do get a little bit more narrow. Some of them, like Masson, Laurier, do end around the Maisonneuve Park. Others continue on, but because the island gets a little bit more narrow, the streets are going to be narrowing, and you're going to have a little bit less distance between them. So that's how I was able to walk from Sherbrooke to Rosemount pretty easily. which also means I should be getting to Bélanger Street very soon. One other thing I could probably point out about the housing over here is I've seen a lot of these, what would be triplexes, fourplexes, maybe even sixplexes, depending on how you look at them. And apparently that's a unique architectural style in Montreal. I know whenever I see those, I always associate with Saint-Leonard, just because that's the type of apartment my grandparents had, and I know they're common around there. But if you're to go around also the Saint Michel borough, LaSalle, on the South Shore, even Brossard, they do have a lot of those as well. So it seems like it's a lot more common, but outside of the Montreal area, I don't know, maybe one day I should, if I venture out somewhere, I'll take a look to see if it's around, because they don't make them like they used to. These things were pretty wide and very spacious. The Saint Francois pub. I don't know what kind of pub it's supposed to be, if it's like British, Irish, maybe a French style pub, but it does look like it's kind of old school in design. Maybe one day I could come back here and try to grab a pint. Obviously it's not going to be like going to the microbreweries, but it could have a little bit of character. But I think I remember seeing that one here a lot, because I am on the corner of Beaubien and Langelier now. So in terms of my memories around here, I forget the name of this park, but this I remember too, because my mom's best friend used to live around this part of the city. So whenever we would do some visits, we would sometimes end up around the park. I do recall that there was an ice cream store just across the street that we would visit when we're anything for the day. So that's, my point of reference. Of course, if I was going to be riding bus number 18 over here, then I would keep going east until I get to Galerie d'Anjou. Or if I really wanted to be adventurous, I go all the way to Honoré Beaugrand, the terminus, like I had said. Because there was a point where I wanted to visit all the subway stations over here in the city, especially when I was a teen and in my 20s. But that's like a far cry from now, because I definitely prefer to be walking everywhere I go. It feels like you can find a lot more interesting stuff as you're a pedestrian. And speaking of finding stuff, I think I should be on the lookout for a coffee shop, because I do feel like I need something to drink.
Please telephone, don't be cruel to who heart is true. Baby, if I made you mad for something I might have said.
Just goes to show how long it's been since I've really passed by the street and really paid attention, because my memory around this corner is that there used to be a Pizza Hut here, but it looks like they tore it down, and the only thing I have left is the remnants of an old sign and a sign for some new condo development that's on the corner of Robert Vio. Okay, it's somewhere within Saint-Leonard, which, by the way, I've actually entered, because I noticed that when I got to Bélanger Street, the sign for the streets had turned from white, which you find all around the city, to green. And green is a sign that I've now entered Saint-Leonard, and one thing I remember too about Bélanger is that it seems to be on the border of the new Rosemont district and Saint-Leonard, so there's some cases where I'm going to be in one borough and then in the other. But I'm also getting close to Carrefour Langelier. It's another small mall that I recall visiting when I was young, but it's been a while since I've been here. I do have a few memories looking around. Oh, this is where the Patinos is located. I know the one that's on the Tasher and Greenfield Park, but this is the one in the East End. And I know there's one around Griffintown too, so there are a few that maybe one day I can highlight and showcase, but we'll see.
Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel.
Still a speedy car service here. That's one chain I don't really see much of these days, but I think there's going to be one on the Boulevard de Galerie d'Anjou, just a few blocks east of here. Not that that's very interesting, because the more interesting one would be Mr. Muffler, with one of those giant-ass displays of a guy, like a mechanic, holding a muffler. I know there was one around Greenfield Park that my dad used to visit, and I would join him for rides when he was getting the car repaired, always because there was one of those snack trucks that would ring, and then I would probably want to get a chocolate milk and a snack. As a kid, every little thing gets you too excited. Well, the Mandarin is still open. That was an old buffet, a Chinese buffet that I would visit from time to time. I remember that there was one close to my house, like years ago when I was like maybe 6, 7, or 8, that we would visit. And we did come to this one in the East End for a couple of reasons. I know that we did it for my sister's first communion, and I think I also remember, oh yeah, it was one of the first spots I ever tried sushi when I was younger, before I got into sushi and thought, hey, this isn't so bad at all. Well, I guess, you know, some things you can find, I don't know what else I'm trying to say, but it's funny how things change, but some stuff stay the same. But I think I'm going to need to take a little breather to look inside, because I'm going to need to use a washroom and hopefully find a coffee. So this blue panel right in back of me is the site of the future metro extension on the blue line that they've been doing for a little while, or at least it was part of the original plan when they started constructing this line in the 80s, and now they're finally going to be making progress on it. Finally is a relative word, just because I know it's going to take several years, if not at least a decade, before they finally finish this. But hey, at least people will be able to access it, because Langellier Street East is a pretty busy street around this neck of the woods, so anything to relieve a little bit of congestion and relieve congestion on the bus route 141. Oh yeah, I did cover that because it's almost been a year and a half since I recorded that episode. I was along Langellier Street East, looking around, trying to show the cannoli shops, grabbing a coffee, and sharing my stories around Bonanza and Les Halles. If you want to see that episode, I'm going to put a card in the top right corner and you can watch that one. But I am not going to be going there. I'm going to be going to my original destination of Bélanger. Oh yeah, full disclosure too, when I was looking around, I made a mistake thinking that Mandarin was open still, because I looked inside, nothing is lit up, it looks like it's all been abandoned. I wonder when that closed down, because, I don't know, it was a decent buffet for the price you paid, and the sushi was alright for what you were getting.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane, ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. I don't care how much money I gotta spend, got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. When she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more.
Okay, I'm getting a wave of flashbacks and nostalgia while I'm walking around here, honestly, because I've always mentioned that, well, like earlier in the episode I mentioned how we would visit my mom's best friend who was further up past Langelier, but I always think back to the visits to Galerie d'Anjou, just a few blocks to the east of it. When I was growing up, Promenade Saint-Bruno was always our choice of mall, but sometimes we ended up in the East End here, probably because we were visiting grandparents, visiting friends or whatever, and, you know, I always think back to that. I think back to especially Eaton's, because that's one store that I always look at the toy section, the video game section, and I know I mentioned it a lot before, but I always think back to when the Super Nintendo was first being released, and they had the kiosk for trying out Super Mario World. That's one game where, if I ever see it, if I play it again, it always brings me back warm nostalgia. Like, it's one of the few that always does it to this day. But weirdly enough, I think back to Model Cars too, because I feel like for some reason, like, I had a short phase where I was into building them, but I always associate picking up a few kits from that particular Eaton's. I don't know what it is. La Sange, let's see, Billiard Bar and Lounge, and the Doremi Bakery. I feel like those two things have been there since I was a kid, so who knows if it's under the same name or if they changed in the recent times. Hard to say. Alright, still some apartment buildings and those triplexes and multiplexes, but makes me think back to further past the east when I was passing by those standalone homes. I know as a kid, or I guess as a young adult, part of me was thinking that maybe there would have been a time I could move, if I wanted to move into the city, probably would have ended up in Saint-Leonard and Anjou. And I said because I'm a suburban guy to a degree, and since I lived in St. Hubert for almost all my life. By the way, if you want to see an episode about me talking about my hometown, I'll put a card in the top right corner for you and you can watch it. But because I've been a suburban guy most of my life, I guess part of me kind of thought if I moved into the city, it would be around here because it was kind of quiet. But I feel like as time went on, I do enjoy the hustle and bustle of the busier parts of Montreal, so I don't know, I guess we'll wait and see. I always say that if I ever move in here or wherever I go, will always depend on who I end up with, whenever that happens. Oh, Cafe Minoa. They advertise having Fantini beans, which is a pretty good Italian blend, so maybe I'll stop in. Oh, actually, forget it. It's one of those bars I could sit down and have a beer and a coffee. Keep moving along. So this part of Bélanger and Châtelaine, I did notice that they have the white signs again. So that means that this is the part of New Rosemont that I'm in as opposed to Saint-Leonard. But that'll probably change if I go a little further up. So passing by Boulevard de l'Assomption made me think that there is one microbrewery that I could probably check out again if I decide to go into Hochelaga Maisonneuve. The Avant-Garde Brewery. Had them a few times at home, but I've never actually visited the site. Maybe one of these days, because as far as I could tell, of all the microbreweries that you find on the island of Montreal, that one seems to be the furthest east one. And I don't think there's anything past that. If I was to think of anything that's in terms of going further west, well, I feel like if you go to Pointe Claire, that's where the La Brosse Brewery is located, and that's as far as it's going to get. There's Luke's and Lachine, and I know if you go off island into Hudson, there's the Cardinal Brewery, so that might be a visit one day if I end up getting a car or have a way to get there. Huh. Okay, this garage I think rings a bell for me because I feel like that my dad and my Dita had come here when they were getting some work done on the Chevrolet Celebrity that I used to have. And that's the one that my dad inherited when my grandfather passed away. So that tells me that I'm getting very close to Ville, since that's where their old apartment was. And actually, since I'm over here, there is one thing that also stands out. It's this dépanneur slash convenience store it's around. It's one that seemed like it was around when I was a kid. Oh yeah, because I'm on 43rd Avenue now, and this is where, or Terrace Sagamo. I guess it's Sagamo there, 43rd that side. But essentially, I remember this dépanneur right by my grandparents' place. So if I was to go over here, then I'd be able to locate eventually on Montjoly. This always stood out because the decor is pretty unique. Like, it had the wood facade over there. It looks like it's had decades worth of water hitting it. But also I remember seeing on the STM logo, they had the old STCOM logo that, you know, as you find some of these convenience stores, remnants of old stuff still seems to stick around for some reason. The Padula Espresso Bar. Once again, while I do want a coffee, I'm not sure if this is a spot where you could walk in and get an espresso to go, because a lot of these cafes seem to be old Italian bars, unlike a lot of the other places I like to grab a coffee or even sitting down for a pint. Something tells me that they would also have maybe Labatt 50, Coors Light, Pabst Blue Ribbon on tap, like all the classic ones. Nothing really a craft beerish, but it could be appropriate too, just because I am realizing that the day of this episode is dropping is also the anniversary of my dad's passing. I did have some ideas for what I wanted to do to commemorate that, but truth be told, I did already do a video of all his apartments that he lived in when he was born and where my grandparents were when they came to Montreal. And I'll put a card in the top right corner for you to watch that. But, you know, that was a tough one to put together emotionally. And I didn't know if I could subject myself to that again, because there was a lot going on in me thinking about that. What is it exactly? Well, here's the thing. Well, I talk a lot about how I miss my dad, and then realizing that it's 28 years since he passed away. I think I'd mentioned before too that it hit me a bit more in my 30s, because I realized growing up, being a teenager, growing into adulthood, and other stuff that comes with it, never really had a dad to be able to do that. So it always makes me think back to that. It's going to be 28 years since he's been gone, like I said, but it also hits me a bit more considering I am a few months away from turning 40, which is quite the milestone. And I gotta think back that I am gonna be around the same age as him when he had his triple bypass. So that's always in the back of my mind. And I like to think, despite the fact I do enjoy a beer, dining out on weekends, that I do a lot of walking, still try to take care of myself, while still do a little bit of indulgence, which means I'm probably in a better position than he was. Plus I don't smoke. That's probably one advantage. Not to say that, you know, you gotta hold back on everything, because you know, from my experience or from what people tell me, abstinence, it just drives you crazy. Yep, phrasing. I don't want to get too mushy. I need to be a little bit cheddary.
Waits by no one, no favors has he. Time waits by no one, and he won't.
Not to mention the fact too that I'm almost 3 years removed from losing my mom back in 2022. So it's a lot of weight that gathers around me this time of the year. Not much I could do except trying to soldier on as always. But I am human after all. I'm more than aware of that. But that's something I try to do to carry on their legacy is, you know, wander around, share their stories, share everything else, along with my discoveries of new cool places, but also because I sometimes feel like these kind of vlogs are a bit of a therapy session, like stuff that I don't really talk about to many people. It's a way to kind of let you know what's going on through my head. But let's not make it too much of a downer. We'll make this a simple tribute to my dad and to my mom in advance. Now, let's continue on to see how far along Bélanger I can get to. What a strange mural that I saw earlier. Like, it shows Rosemont with an arrow pointing to the right, but Master Roshi, and I'm guessing Android 17 from Dragon Ball Z are all Yep, I'm hearing that. But I don't know what Dragon Ball Z has to do with the Rosemont, but fuck if I know. Crazy things have happened before. Still no sign of a coffee shop either where I can do a little espresso to go. So maybe if I'm really desperate, I've got to go to the nearby Tim Hortons that's close to P&F. If you're going to be telling me to go to McDonald's, you already know my feelings of that. I'll just tell the clown to go throw a rock at himself. Oh wow, Le Boulevard or P&F Shopping Center as we always used to call it, looks like it's been torn down now. Like, I knew they were going to be doing some work because of the extension for the metro, but I didn't think they were going to be tearing down the whole mall. Man, that's quite surprising. It's serviceable. So because I wasn't able to find any other coffee shops, I ended up going for an espresso from Couche-Tard. It's not high quality stuff, but considering the location I'm in, I feel like it's going to get the job done. It only cost me like about $2 for it, so at least I was able to save some money on that. Now, I passed by P&F Boulevard, and that means I'm in the older part of Rosemont now, because from what I see on the map, once you get east of P&F, that's where you go into the new Rosemont district of Montreal, and also borderline Saint-Leonard, depending on which part of town you're in. I am around some familiar territory too, like when I did my dad's episode, I passed by this Belanger patisserie. Seemed like it's an Italian bakery, and I did make a joke about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I'll continue on, look around and see how much more ground I could cover, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to have some room for a final coffee, depending on where I go.
I am standing up at the water's edge in my dream. I cannot make a single sound as you scream. It can be that cold, the ground is still warm to touch.
So now I'm at an intersection over here, corner Bélanger and Saint-Michel. So if I want to continue further up, then I can explore a little bit more Bélanger, either on camera or on my own, or I can always go familiar territory down here and then make my way down to Beaubien. I'm not sure because I'm at crossroads, so I know I've documented Beaubien a lot. Thing is too that Bélanger won't necessarily have that much interesting stuff to show off, at least that's not camera worthy, and I have to be cognizant of the fact that I am going to be running low on camera battery soon. Let's make a decision.
just the Milky Way. My Chevy
Beaubien Park. It's a park that I know all too well, and I know I've documented it a lot. In fact, this part of Rosemount I realized I documented a lot in the last few years. First time was when I did that first Road to Little Ukraine one. That was actually hard to believe. It's almost been 4 years since I've captured that. So if you want to see that one, if you're not familiar with it, click the link on the top right corner. But besides that, I think it's a mix of reasons why I'm doing that. I mentioned trips with my dad, with my mom, thinking back to my babcha, even some family member who used to grow up around here. It's a way to kind of document it for them, and I guess it's a part of me now that I'm older. I'm realizing those years when I was younger are way behind me, and I feel like that I'm just looking back, reflecting, and I guess pining for days I know are never coming back. So I was young, innocent, just a kid, and now here I am on the verge of 40. You know, I don't want to make it too much of a downer. Just the little things that you probably all think about, depending on where you are in your life. What I think I should worry about more too is I know I want to make some beef tartare when I get home. I'm in desperate need of an IPA, so I'm going to go find that in one of the shops. Sorry, man. Had to get my breath again for a second. But thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wananiki Cheese Cafe. So if you like what you see, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button below. Just give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my wanders, the stories, and everything that comes with it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comments section. Till then, take care, see you next time, and go hug your families. Take advantage of it.